Hello there and welcome back to The Closet Historian and back to my series Side Hustle'n, where I talk about myself a little bit more, get a little bit more personal, talk about my various side hustles, my trying to make both being a creator here online a career, and also talk about writing, which is something I do on the side as a bit of a side hustle still. Although side hustle does seem to imply that you're making a little bit of money doing something, and I'm not making any money doing any writing as of yet, but maybe one day. Every year I try and make a video of my goals for the next year ahead, so this will be my goals for 2022. I don't really do journaling or diary entries or anything like that, so these vlogs each year are really the only way that I keep track or even make notes about what my specific goals might be for the next year. It's not something that's like required, and New Year's resolutions are kind of like a hot button topic of like whether or not it's a worthwhile activity at all, but these videos where I'm allowed to kind of just brainstorm about what I'm looking forward to in the year ahead, what I would like to achieve, are the only time I really spend doing that. Is me making it work means that it will get done, which you'll see why when I go over some of my hang-ups here. But I do have my notes here on my trusty tablet, and my first goal for the next year is plan better, aka take weekends. Now, I am in the very lucky and privileged club of people who do what they love as their day job. I get to teach sewing here on the channel, basically just experiment with making new projects, making costumes, be creative, and that is my day job now, thanks to all of you, your support here on the channel, and my patrons, of course, who make that possible, really pay my salary so that this can be my job. And it is remarkable to me that this gets to be my job. It is my dream job, really. I just would like to add /author on the end of it sometime, but I'll get into that in a minute. But classically, because I love what I do, you can't get me to stop doing it, which means I'm not the best at taking weekends or planning in like time to be human. So like things like laundry or like spring cleaning days or days out with friends, actually spending time to find a therapist and get the help I might need, or booking health appointments in general, just relaxing, reading, napping, those kind of things. I don't really schedule in enough time in my work schedule for that because I schedule every single day, or I schedule tasks for work, for videos, for creating what I need to create for videos every day. I don't leave myself any breaks or like days off in that. And it occurs to me that one of the reasons that people like aspire to be self-employed like I am is so that they can like make their own schedule and hypothetically they can have more free time actually. And I don't schedule any of that. So maybe I should try it. The only time I really take a full day off, like what a normal like Saturday or Sunday day off would be if I like do plan something with a friend, or if I have overworked myself and I've become so exhausted that my to-do list becomes literally overwhelming and I like start messing up on things I'm working on because I'm too burnt out. Then I will eventually take a day off to just like sleep because I've like burnt myself out physically. Even though like mentally I feel like I could keep going, like I start like fumbling things and like I can tell when I'm like screwing things up that I just need to like have a reset, and so I'll take a day off, more just like give up and go back to bed. And every once in a while that does happen to me. Like every few months I'll have like a burnt out day where I almost feel sick and just have to go to bed, which would be nice to avoid. Which of course when I do have to take those kind of like emergency reset days, it does throw my schedule into even more disarray and puts me more behind. So then I have to like have more anxiety about the whole thing and my schedule gets out of whack. And again, I am setting my own schedule here. So I'm my own boss who tends to overwork myself. So I use like a calendar app and I book in like everything I need to do on each day. I usually only have like one task per day, but it'll be like bead an entire Victorian bodice, and I'll put that for one day and think that that's enough time. And then in videos like this, I will make personal goals, like to read a certain amount of books, or to like, I don't know, do like more personal kind of things like make friends or do things out in the world. And then I won't leave myself weekends or any time to do them because I fill my schedule entirely. So it seems almost silly to even make goals because I'm not going to leave myself any time to do them, am I? But I am also sort of making this goal and this idea of weekends as like also sort of buffer time. I'm kind of planning to fail at weekends, but in the best way possible, stay with me. In the sense that if I schedule 2 blank days, like on the weekends, schedule Saturday and Sunday to not have any work, like to-do list items on those days for like my work schedule, that means if I do sillily tell myself I can beat a Victorian bodice in one day and I don't finish, instead of that cutting into work because I'm delayed, it will cut into those 2 buffer days, and like then that won't affect the schedule the next week, hopefully. So like when my work extends into that weekend, at least that weekend is a blank buffer space where my work can overflow into those days and not affect the upcoming to-do list for the next week. In my mind, this means that when I have a week scheduled for just like blocked out for writing, my tasks hopefully won't spill over and I won't have to cancel writing days because my work is overflowing into that week. Hopefully that weekend buffer there can catch any extra to-dos I may have to do, finishing up on editing, finishing up a project or something, and therefore I won't have to cut into my writing time that I have scheduled, because a lot of times I will sacrifice writing days to get my work done, because of course my work is very important, both to me and to my, I don't know, like financial goals eventually. So I have to get my work done, but I also have to get writing done. So this is going to be my new strategy in the new year here. Try and take weekends and use them if I need to. Does that make any sense? Probably not. But speaking of having more time for writing, a quick aside. I have had a couple of people suggest I write for 15 minutes each day or join a writing group or other such methods to get more writing done. And thank you for wanting to help me, but that is just not how I work. I like to completely immerse myself in it. No rolling my trouser legs up so I can walk in the shallows for a second, find a few seashells before I have to go put another coin in the meter. No. I want to be soaked, unable to touch the bottom, with the waves rolling over my entire body as the sea throws me about until I've got no idea which way is up and the salt water is licking my lungs. I don't want a brisk little jog before my workday. I want to get absolutely lost on the Appalachian Trail. I reread what I've got so far and edit for a few hours to get myself back into the character's headspace, and then I'll write the next chapter. And then I do it again, and I get so lost in it I don't realize I've been doing it for 9 hours. I don't get hungry. I don't want to go to bed. I take several days aside in chunks so that I can completely let go, dive in, and only resurface when I absolutely must return to real life. I can't write for just 15 minutes. To me, that's not discipline, that's deprivation. Sometimes it seems like writers who undoubtedly love writing, of course, still talk about it like it's a bit of a chore. But not me. I love writing like it's a drug, because when I'm lost in it, I'm alive. I don't want to microdose joy. I want to bathe in it for 4 whole days. I don't want a playlist on my way to work. I want an epic festival of words in the desert. Because that type of escape is worth waiting for. But I digress. Weekends. We'll try it. Next up I have the no-buy of all no-buys. And goodness knows it's going to be hard for me. I'm rather a reward-based creature. If I have like a big week of work, or I accomplish a big project, or do a thing, or I'm just sad, I will allow myself a little browse on Etsy, trying to find the cheapest Trifari brooch for like $10 and hit that sweet buy now button to get that little bit of, I don't know, endorphins from hitting the buy now button, which I know all too well. I have a tinge of the shopaholic in me. You would never know from my maximalist nature that I love crap. But sadly, there will be no indulgences in the buy now button for the foreseeable future. And sadly, even fabric is quite off limits again this year because I'm going to start saving for a house. And I don't know if you guys have heard, houses, incredibly expensive. And I even can't afford a house here where I live now. I don't think, even if I saved for an additional 5-10 years, I wouldn't be able to afford a house here in Colorado because that's too expensive. Psychologically, we could really get into this, why I like new shiny things, like what kind of like Corvid I am, where new shiny things allow me like a spark of happiness to be able to like get me through and like float along. I really need to get past that anyhow, now that I'm a proper adult. So this is probably going to be good for me to restrict shopping. I do think like if I'm out at like an antique mall with friends and I find something spectacular, fine. But this is mostly a no online shopping ban because that's where I get into the most trouble. So if I can just stay off Etsy and moodfabrics.com, we should be okay. So I'm working on that. But having my own place has been my dream for such a long time. I have lived outside of my family home before. Obviously, when I was in university, I traveled around a little bit. So I did some university out in California. So I lived in an apartment on my own there or on campus alone there. And I lived in an apartment when I was in university, basically. But I moved home after university and I've been here ever since. I don't get charged rent, so it is a very good deal to live here, especially while I was figuring out what the heck I wanted to do with my whole life here. And now I've sort of finally entered into a stable career, which just happens to be YouTube, which is, I'll grant you, strange. But now that I do have a more stable job, even if it is kind of a weird job by most, I don't know, traditional standards, I can start thinking about moving out on my own and getting my own place. And if I'm going to do that, I would rather not rent because I do have the privilege and the gift of being able to stay here as long as I like want to or need to. It makes more financial sense, I feel like, to, instead of starting to pay rent to somebody else and paying someone else's mortgage, to save up so that I can pay my own mortgage somewhere, you know? But there is the small problem of it being too expensive to live here in Colorado, so I'm gonna have to figure out where to live. Where to move is on my list of goals. I do have a few like potential like wish list items for like trying to narrow down a place to live. One being that the houses need to be around $250,000 or less. So that's rules out most of the country I live in. And then also there needs to be some queer people around for me to meet and potentially date. Then also, and have friends in general, I guess. A few cafes or restaurants would be good, or like coffee shops, bookstores, museums, little places for me to go so I can wear my suiting out and about. And I would prefer, you know, probably somewhere like on the northern half of the United States in general, but like the Northeast or like the Northwest. And I really don't think the Northwest, I don't think I can afford it. So somewhere, well, if you know of any towns in New York or Pennsylvania or Massachusetts, that sort of zone that you like and that fit a lot of those categories, let me know. Conversely, if you know of anywhere that will take me in the UK, or like, you know, in England or Scotland, or heck, even Wales. I've never been to Wales, but I assume it's similar to England and Scotland enough that I would like it. Let me know, because as annoying and expensive as I assume it is to move countries, I love it over there. So that is like the end goal, like 10, 15, 20 years from now, I would like to move to the UK. We'll see how it goes. I ramble so much. What do we have so far? We have take weekends, save up for a house, so no buy, and figure out where I want to live. 3. Okay, we got 3 goals so far. Next is, these are getting sillier as we go. Take a real vacation. So in addition to taking weekends, the idea has occurred to me that I don't know how to take a vacation, because as we know, last year I went on a very long, big road trip, and I set myself so much to do each day, so much driving to do, so much stuff to get done during the day, like to see and get footage of, because I was trying to make videos that whole time. I really am happy with the series that I made, Field Notes, but I think it might be a good idea for me to actually take a couple of days where I don't film or edit or go online even maybe at all, which I haven't spent a day off the internet since I was like 8, so it could be a good idea. But I think taking a couple of days really off with out my phone, no Instagram, no computer, and just reading books, watching old movies on TCM, and taking luxurious baths or something might be kind of nice. Speaking of resets and recharging, it could be an interesting idea. Maybe we'll try it in 2022. I also need to upgrade my PC this next year, so that's kind of a goal of mine that's much more work related, or actually just practical. I really would like to upgrade my PC. It's from 2018. I could probably use a new graphics card or video card, which is going to be the more expensive part of that upgrade. I might have to buy just an entirely new PC because of the way video cards are going these days, because a lot of people buy them to mine crypto and stuff like that, so it's hard to find just a good new video card on its own. But we'll see how it goes. My brother and my dad both know how to build computers, so they'll help me out with that when it's time to invest in that. So I guess it's a no buy, except for I need to upgrade, get some more RAM, get some better processing power so that editing is not such a chore, because editing even on this PC for video, it does take me a long time just because the computer cannot keep up with me. Also related to my earlier goal of trying to figure out where to live, I need to start going to therapy, which I've made a goal for several years now and still have made no movement on, but it seems an important one to just keep bothering myself about. And that is because I could maybe use some help figuring out what I want, because I'm not 100% sure what that is. So I need maybe a little bit of help, someone walking with me through my brain maze to figure out exactly what it is that I want, because as much as I do want to buy an old Victorian house, 30, 40 miles outside of town and live my witch on the hill, life, I also do kind of want companionship, and those two things don't seem to go together very well. And which is the one that I really want? Do I want to try living in a city for a little while, even though it's going to be expensive and not a good investment, but maybe it's good an investment in my mental health to make friends? I don't know. So this is why I'm thinking maybe now that I have a practical thing that I wish to unpack, it might be finally time to go to therapy. But it just seems like I won't be able to wear mascara. I'm a crier. So, like, it seems like a kind of a task, and you have to, like, find the right person and all that, blah, blah. But I know I should do it. And now I actually do have, like, a very, like, real, like, pressing reason to do so, I suppose. Or it feels like it. Because, of course, my own, well-being was not a good enough pressing reason. But, like, needing to figure out where to live, for some reason, seems like more of a pressing reason. And then as far as, like, properly silly goals goes, I have get a new tattoo. Again, just like last year, but again, every artist is like fully booked and overbooked, and like their book's only open for like 2 seconds, and you got to get in there, and then you have to hope that they like your idea. So it seems like a lottery at this point, but maybe I can do it. Who knows? Mary Vi from Arcane. I don't know how that got in here. God, am I lonely. Next question. Drive to Moab again, maybe. Because it's actually pretty close, and there's a lot to see there, and it's quite nice. And so I'd like to do it in a less rushed way. Also, my grandparents have an RV, and they like drive around the United States, so it might be a very fun place to meet up with them and check out like Arches again with my family. Because of course, last year when I was at Arches and the Moab area, I was there by myself, so it might be kind of fun to share with my family, because we don't really go on vacations as a family very much, or like we haven't in a very long time. So it's only a 5-hour drive from here. Might as well go and check it out again. And the pizza there was very good. So worth to drive 5 hours for pizza. That's worth it, you know? And then I do have another reading goal this year. Although last year it turned out I was very optimistic with my trying to lowball myself at 25 books. No. So this year my goal is 12 books. That's right, 1 book a month. Can I do it? I don't know, but we're just going to keep lowering this goal until we find one I can hit. But speaking of books, of course, my last goal is the same as my goal was last year, which is to finish the 3rd book in the series that I've been working on for several years. I'm about a third of the way through, like, the first draft, I suppose, but I think it's important for, like, my heart and my head to finish it and finish that series and kind of tie a bow on it again for myself, just because it was this idea, this story, was the reason I figured out, oh, I want to be a writer. The first book came to me, I always say, like a bolt of lightning. I wrote it in like 6 or 8 weeks or something like that. I wrote the whole like first draft. It really just like blew my mind. I felt like it wasn't really mine, that like I had just been like instructed to write it down, and like that story came out of nowhere and it was like, quite complete. And so I've been working with those same characters for several years now, and I want to finish, like conclude their story, I guess. And so I want to finish this book for them, for me, them. I say them as if they're real. All characters, of course, imaginary in my mind. But I want to finish this up and be able to have some closure with that story, and that way I can start working on some other things that I feel more willing to share. These first few novels have been for me, and hopefully the next few will be for the world. But it's possible Revenge, Cicada, and Book 3 here have all been just for me. And boy, it took me a long time to realize that I don't have to get published someday to be a writer, but it is true. My heart beats for the blank page. I dream about sitting down to write as if it's a luxury destination I am privileged to visit, yes, but also like an indulgence I have to earn. Like a treat I get only if I finish my other work. When in reality it's not dessert, but oxygen. Not optional, but vital. I've simply got to get it switched so that writing is mandatory. Because that is the reality of my heart, but not my schedule. I will be a better creative for it, be more productive and energized for it, both off and on the page. And not only do you deserve the best I can create, but I deserve to feel the best I can feel. So I think it's a shorter list of goals this year, but I really do need to revolutionize the way I schedule my own workflow, because I have had the similar sets of goals for the last couple of years here, and the reason I don't achieve them is because I haven't made any sort of massive shift in the way that I schedule myself. I usually get what I want to get done, but not the writing. So like I will get my videos done. I'll get my like sewing and costuming or whatever I need to get done, but the writing is what gets sacrificed. And I just can't allow myself to do it anymore. I say this every year and I'm just like a broken record. But this year, because of introducing weekends and that buffer time, hopefully that will make a big enough shift. I mean, I've never taken weekends like that. I've never built that into my schedule. Back when I was working, for other people, not self-employed, I would pack my weekends with everything I needed to do for my side hustles. And so when I stopped working, I just filled all that time. I kept my weekends full, and then I filled all the weekday time as well. So any ounce of spare time, I can put a task on it. And I think in some ways, it just lets the tasks build up because life happens, and so not every task gets achieved. And then they just build up and build up and build up. And then my writing time gets sacrificed to fill in all those tasks. So I have to build in buffer time to both absorb some of those tasks that don't get done during the week, and also maybe just hopefully some will, allow me to rest a little bit as well. Weird idea. So even though I have some specific and some rather large goals for 2022, what I really want to do is my best, like the best I can, to create a lot, but also to eventually learn how to take some rest as well, and to figure out what my next steps are going to be. In some ways, I didn't expect to get to this place where I can take kind of like a measure of what I want to do next. It's weird to be in a stable enough place with my job, thanks to all of you and thanks to my patrons for supporting me, that I can think about like, oh my goodness, what comes next? What do I want to do with my life now that I have this foundation that you have given me? So thank you, and know that I know how lucky I am to even be in this position. Of course, I am super privileged and lucky, not just because I can live here at home for free and save up for a down payment, but also because all of you have given me the gift of being able to be creative as my day job and as my side hustle. And not everyone is afforded that gift, and I do look at it as a huge opportunity, and one that I don't want to waste, of course. I'll be back to sewing and creating here on the channel for you soon, but not this next week, because this next week, well, you'll have videos, but I will be off writing, or as I prefer, nearly drowning. An absolutely huge thank you to Rhonda, Che, Beatrice, Lacey, Nancy, Anna, Brianne, Carol, Michelle, Margaret, Rachamus, Lynn, Ellen, Myrna, Karina, Lilith, Swingularity, Tracy, Denise, Fern, Samantha, Eloquent Silence, Michaela, Kelly, Audra, Alice, Margot, Rachel, Tom, Renee, Amy, and Maria. You make my work and my dreams possible, and thank you so much for your support. And thank you to all of my patrons and all of you who watch my videos.